The wedding planning meeting was held in my parents' living room on a Tuesday evening in March. I'd driven straight from work, still wearing my corporate attire, to discuss my sister Lily's upcoming June wedding. What I hadn't expected was to discover I wasn't invited to the actual event I was apparently financing. The venue deposit is $8,000, Mom said, sliding a folder of paperwork across the coffee table toward me. And the catering is running about $35 per person for the full package. I flipped through the contracts, noting the elegant letterhead from Rosewood Manor, one of the most expensive wedding venues in the state. The guest list showed 140 people. So we're looking at around 52,000 total, I said, doing quick math in my head. Plus flowers, photography, the band, Lily added from her spot on the couch next to her fiancé Marcus. But those are the big expenses. This is quite a bit more than we initially discussed, I said carefully. When Lily had first gotten engaged 8 months ago, the family had asked me to help out with wedding costs. At the time, they talked about a simple ceremony for 50 people with a budget around $20,000. We know it's a lot, Dad said, his tone suggesting the matter was already settled. But you're in the best position to handle it financially. I looked around the room. Mom and Dad both retired on fixed incomes. Lily working part-time at a boutique while finishing her master's degree. Marcus, a graduate student living on research stipends and student loans. And me, the corporate lawyer who'd been supporting various family members for the past 6 years. What are you and Marcus contributing? I asked. Lily shifted uncomfortably. Well, we're paying for the honeymoon. And Marcus is handling the bachelor party costs. How much is the honeymoon? About $4,000 for the week in Cancun. $4,000 for their honeymoon. $52,000 for the wedding I was expected to fund. And Mom and Dad? We're providing our expertise and emotional support, Mom said with the tone of someone who considered that contribution equivalent to tens of thousands of dollars. I see. I closed the folder of contracts. Can I think about it? Think about what? Lily asked, her voice rising slightly. Lisa, this is my wedding. It's the most important day of my life. I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out the logistics of covering $52,000. You make 6 figures, Dad said. This is what family does for each other. I did make 6 figures. I also had student loans, a mortgage, and a retirement account that had been raided multiple times for family emergencies over the years. Plus, Mom added, you'll get to be part of creating this beautiful memory for Lily and Marcus. Isn't that worth it? Speaking of being part of it, I said, where am I sitting at the reception? The room went quiet in a way that made my stomach drop. About that, Mom said carefully. We've been talking and we think it might be better to keep the guest list smaller. More intimate. Smaller. Just immediate family and very close friends, Lily said quickly. We want to keep it really personal, you know? I stared at her. I'm your sister. Of course you are. But you understand how expensive each person is. With catering at $35 per head, every invitation adds up. You're uninviting me to save $35? It's not about the money. It's literally exactly about the money. Marcus spoke up for the first time. We just want our wedding day to be about us, without any family drama or complications. What complications? Well, Mom said delicately, you have a tendency to be intense about financial things. We don't want that energy at the ceremony. I felt like I'd been slapped. Intense about financial things? You ask a lot of questions about budgets and expenses, Dad explained. It makes people uncomfortable. I ask questions because I'm the one paying for everything. And we're grateful, Lily said. But gratitude doesn't mean we have to invite everyone who contributes to the celebration. I looked around the room again, trying to process what I was hearing. They wanted me to pay $52,000 for a wedding I wasn't invited to attend. Let me make sure I understand, I said slowly. You want me to fund Lily's entire wedding, but I can't come to the actual event? You're making it sound worse than it is, Mom said. We'll have a nice family dinner afterward. Just the core family. The core family that apparently doesn't include me. Lisa, don't be dramatic, Lily snapped. This is my wedding. It's about me and Marcus, not about you. Then maybe you and Marcus should pay for it. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. That's not realistic and you know it, Dad said. They're students. They don't have that kind of money. Neither do I. You absolutely do. You just don't want to spend it on family. I stood up, gathering my purse and car keys. I need to think about this. There's nothing to think about, Mom said firmly. Family supports family. Your sister needs this and you're in a position to provide it. And in exchange, I get excluded from the event I'm paying for. You're not being excluded, Lily said. You're just not invited to the ceremony part. But you'll be involved in all the planning and preparation. How generous. I headed for the door then turned back. Just so I'm clear, you want me to spend $52,000 on a party I can't attend, hosted by people who think I'm too intense about wanting to understand where my money goes? Lisa. I'll let you know my decision tomorrow. I drove home in a fog of anger and disbelief. In the past 6 years I'd paid for Mom's car repairs, Dad's medical bills, and Lily's last 2 years of graduate school tuition. Every time the justification was the same. Family helps family. But apparently, family doesn't include family when it comes to actually celebrating together. That night I called my best friend Claire and told her the whole story. They want you to pay for a wedding you're not invited to? Claire said. Lisa, that's insane. They're saying it's about keeping it intimate. Intimate enough to exclude the person paying for it? According to them, yes. What are you going to do? I'd been asking myself the same question all evening. Part of me wanted to tell them exactly what they could do with their intimate wedding. Another part of me felt guilty for even considering letting Lily down on her big day. I don't know, I admitted. Can I ask you something? Claire said. When was the last time anyone in your family did something significant for you without being asked? I thought about it. I can't remember. When was the last time they celebrated one of your achievements or milestones? Another long pause. My promotion to partner 2 years ago. They took me to dinner. Who paid for dinner? I did. Lisa, honey, do you hear yourself? The next morning I had an idea. I called the wedding venue and spoke with their events coordinator. I'm calling about the Martinez-Chan wedding in June, I said. I'm the one handling the financial arrangements. Of course, Miss Martinez. How can I help you? I need to understand your cancellation policy. She explained that deposits were non-refundable after 30 days. But final payments could be cancelled up to 72 hours before the event with a 20% penalty. And if the final payment is reversed after being processed? Well, that would be considered a breach of contract. We'd have to cancel the event immediately. I see. And how much notice would you give the wedding party? We'd call them as soon as we were notified of any payment issues. Perfect. I spent the next 2 months playing along with the wedding planning process. I attended cake tastings I wasn't invited to eat the cake at. I helped choose flowers I wouldn't see in person. I reviewed seating charts that didn't include my name. Every week there were new expenses. Lily needed a more expensive dress. The flowers had to be upgraded. The photographer required a bigger deposit. Each time they came to me with the additional costs and each time I smiled and agreed to cover them. The final bill came to $54,837. 3 days before the wedding I transferred the full amount to the venue. Then I called them back. This is Lisa Martinez. I just sent the final payment for the Martinez-Chan wedding. Yes, I see it here. Everything looks good. Great. I need to request a payment reversal. I'm sorry. I'm reversing the payment. All of it. There was a long pause. Miss Martinez, the wedding is in 3 days. If we don't have payment, we'll have to cancel the entire event. I understand. Is there some kind of problem with the charges? No, the charges are accurate. I'm just not paying them anymore. Can I ask why? I wasn't invited to the wedding I was paying for. So I've decided not to pay for it. Another pause. See. Well, I'll need to call the bride and groom immediately to let them know about the situation. Please do. I hung up and turned off my phone. 20 minutes later, I could hear the chaos starting from my apartment building's parking lot. Car doors slamming, voices shouting, multiple vehicles arriving at once. My family had come to stage an intervention. I let them knock on my door for 10 minutes before answering. Mom, Dad, Lily, and Marcus were all standing in my hallway, faces ranging from furious to panicked. What did you do? Lily shrieked. I uninvited myself from paying for your wedding. The venue called, Marcus said, his voice shaking. They said you canceled the payment. The wedding is off. That's unfortunate. Lisa, this is insane, Dad said. You can't just destroy your sister's wedding 3 days before the ceremony. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just not paying for something I'm not invited to. We explained that to you, Mom said. It's about keeping it intimate. Then you should be able to keep the costs intimate too. Lily was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. How could you do this to me? This is the most important day of my life. Then maybe you should have wanted me there for it. We could have worked something out, Marcus said desperately. Maybe we could add one more seat. One more seat. I stared at him. I'm not some random +1 you're trying to accommodate. I'm the sister of the bride and the person who was paying for your entire wedding. But the deposits, Mom said. All that money is lost now. Yes, it is. Money I spent on a wedding I wasn't welcome at. You're being vindictive, Dad said. I'm being practical. Why would I spend $54,000 on an event where I'm not wanted? Because you love me, Lily sobbed. Because I'm your sister. Am I your sister? Because sisters usually invite each other to their weddings. This is ridiculous, Mom said. Call the venue back right now and fix this. No. Lisa. No. I'm done. I'm done paying for things I'm not included in. I'm done being the family item who's too intense to be included in celebrations. But what about the guests? Marcus asked. People are flying in from out of state. Hotels are booked. Maybe you should have thought about that before you decided I was too problematic to invite. I started closing the door. Wait, Lily called out. What if we re-invite you? Would you pay for the wedding then? I paused. Are you inviting me because you want me there or because you need my money? She couldn't answer. That's what I thought. I closed the door and turned my phone back on. 18 missed calls and 43 text messages, all variations of angry demands that I fix the situation I'd created. I deleted them all and ordered Chinese takeout. The next morning, Lily showed up at my office. I need to talk to you, she said, her eyes red from crying. Okay. I'm sorry about not inviting you to the wedding. That was wrong. Thank you. But Lisa, you have to understand. I can't just cancel my entire wedding. I've been planning this for 8 months. I'm not making you cancel anything. I'm just not paying for it. But we can't afford it without you. Then maybe you should have planned a wedding you could afford. Lily's composure cracked. You're destroying my life because your feelings got hurt. My feelings didn't get hurt. My eyes got opened. To what? To the fact that you think my only value to this family is financial. That's not true. Really? When was the last time you called me just to talk? When was the last time you asked about my life, my work, my relationships? When was the last time you wanted to spend time with me that didn't involve me paying for something? Lily was quiet. I've spent 6 years being this family's emergency fund. College tuition, car repairs, medical bills, and now a wedding. But I've never been invited to family dinners that I didn't pay for. I've never been included in family vacations I couldn't fund. And now I'm not even welcome at celebrations I finance. We do appreciate you. You appreciate my bank account. There's a difference. So what happens now? She asked. Now you figure out how to have a wedding you can actually afford. Maybe a small ceremony in Mom and Dad's backyard. Maybe a potluck reception at the community center. Maybe something that reflects your actual budget instead of my income. But I already sent invitations. Everyone's expecting this elegant celebration. Then maybe you should have checked with your actual budget before sending invitations to an elegant celebration. Lily left my office and I didn't hear from my family for 2 weeks. Then Claire called me with interesting news. I heard through the grapevine that your sister's wedding is back on, she said. Really? Apparently your parents took out a second mortgage on their house to cover the venue costs. I felt sick to my stomach. They did what? $40,000 home equity loan. They're going to be making payments for the next 15 years. My parents, both in their 70s, had mortgaged their retirement security to fund Lily's dream wedding. Part of me felt guilty. Part of me felt vindicated. Mostly, I felt sad that they'd rather go into debt than admit they'd treated me unfairly. The wedding happened as scheduled. I saw the photos on social media. Beautiful venue, elegant flowers, happy couple surrounded by family and friends. I wasn't in any of the pictures, but then again I hadn't expected to be. 3 weeks later Mom called. "We need to talk about the mortgage payments," she said without preamble. "What about them?" "They're higher than we expected. We're going to need some help." I was quiet for a long moment. "Mom, you took out a mortgage to pay for a wedding I wasn't invited to. Why would I help you pay it back?" "Because we're family. Family that mortgaged their house rather than admit I deserved a seat at my sister's wedding." "Lisa, don't be petty. This is about your father and me losing our home. This is about you choosing Lily's wedding over your own financial security. We didn't have a choice. You had a choice. You could have told Lily to plan a wedding she could afford. You could have insisted that the person paying for the celebration be included in it. You could have chosen to treat me like family instead of just a funding source. But we didn't, and now we need help. And I don't have any help to give. I spent $54,000 on wedding planning before your daughter decided I was too intense to invite. That was my help. You got that money back when you canceled the payment." "I donated it." "You what?" "I donated the entire amount to a scholarship fund for first-generation college students. Kids who know what it's like to work for everything they get and still be treated like their success makes them responsible for everyone else's dreams." Mom was silent. "But congratulations on the beautiful wedding," I added. "I hear it was everything Lily dreamed of." I hung up and went back to the life I was building for myself. The life where I got to choose how my time, energy, and money were spent. The life where I was valued for more than my ability to write checks. 6 months later Lily called. "Lisa, I owe you an apology." "Okay." Mom told me about the mortgage payments. About how much they're struggling. "I see. I never thought about what would happen after the wedding. I just wanted everything to be perfect." "And was it perfect?" "The wedding was beautiful. But I keep thinking about how wrong it was not to include you." "What made you realize that?" "My friend Jennifer asked to see wedding photos, and when I showed them to her she asked where you were. When I explained that we'd kept the guest list small, she asked if that meant you hadn't helped pay for it." Lily paused. "When I told her you'd offered to pay but we'd decided not to invite you, she looked at me like I was the worst person in the world." "What did she say?" "She said that excluding the person who made the celebration possible was the cruelest thing she'd ever heard of." I didn't respond. "Lisa, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I was so focused on having my perfect day that I forgot you were my sister first and my funding source never." "Thank you for saying that. Is there any way to fix this? Any way to make it up to you?" I thought about it. "You can start by paying your own bills. And Mom and Dad's mortgage payments." "I can't afford the mortgage payments. Marcus and I are barely covering our own expenses." "Then you can downsize your lifestyle until you can afford them." "But, Lily, you wanted an expensive wedding. You got one. Now you get to deal with the consequences of that choice. Are you ever going to forgive me?" "I already have. But forgiveness doesn't mean going back to the way things were." "What does it mean?" "It means I hope you learn something from this experience. And I hope you don't make the same mistake with your marriage that you made with your wedding." "What mistake?" "Thinking that other people should sacrifice their security for your dreams." Today, 2 years later, my parents are still making mortgage payments on Lily's wedding. They've had to significantly downsize their lifestyle, and Dad has gone back to work part-time to cover expenses. Lily and Marcus divorced 18 months after their perfect wedding. Apparently, the financial stress of the mortgage payments led to fights about money, which led to blame, which led to the end of the marriage that was supposed to be worth any sacrifice. I've rebuilt relationships with extended family members who reached out after hearing the story. Most of them admitted they'd always wondered why I was expected to fund everyone else's celebrations while rarely being celebrated myself. I've also built new relationships with people who value me for who I am, not what I can provide financially. My birthday this year was celebrated with friends who insisted on paying for their own dinners and brought gifts they bought with their own money. It was small, personal, and filled with people who wanted to be there with me, not people who wanted something from me. It was everything Lily's wedding should have been but wasn't. A celebration of love, surrounded by people who genuinely cared about each other. Sometimes the most generous thing you can do is refuse to enable other people's entitlement. Sometimes saying no to funding someone else's dream is the only way to protect your own dignity. And sometimes the best wedding gift you can give someone is teaching them that their dreams are their own responsibility to finance.
Hi, I'm Deborah. Life-changing moments, they don't announce themselves. For me, it was 8 years ago on what was supposed to be a carefree family ski trip. I was 18, fresh out of high school, thinking I had everything figured out. Funny how certainty crumbles in an instant. Just one more run before sunset. I called to my parents from the top of the slope. Mom was fussing with her goggles while Dad checked his phone, as usual. They waved me off with distracted smiles, unaware it would be the last time they saw me standing. I didn't see the ice patch. One moment, I was flying down the slope, wind in my face. The next, darkness. When I woke up in the hospital, the words hit me like a second crash. Paralyzed from the waist down. At 18, but the real pain came later, watching my parents' faces change over the weeks that followed. "We're just stepping out for coffee, honey," Mom would say, staying away longer each time. Dad barely met my eyes, muttering excuses about insurance and work. Only my brother, Carl, stayed. He'd camp out by my bedside, his laptop balanced on his knees, working remotely. "Those physical therapy bills won't pay themselves," he joked, but I saw the lines of worry deepening on his 24-year-old face. "They're just processing everything," Carl reassured me when I asked why our parents' visits grew shorter. "Give them time." Time revealed the truth. One morning, a nurse handed me a letter, Mom's elegant handwriting spelling out devastation. "We can't handle this, Deborah. We never signed up for a disabled daughter. The insurance will cover your medical bills. Carl will handle the rest." I stared at the words, my chest hollow. Later that day, Sophia, my best friend since middle school, stormed into my room to find me clutching the letter. "Those cowards couldn't even say it to your face." She spat, her hands trembling as she read it. "What kind of parents just leave?" I asked through tears. "The kind who don't deserve you," Carl said, stepping into the room with a fierce determination. "I've already called work. I'm taking over as your primary caregiver. But your career in Seattle," I protested, "can be managed remotely. Besides, Sophia's tech startup idea needs a financial advisor, right?" Sophia's eyes brightened. "Our accessibility app. Deborah, you're still the best coder I know. Chair or not, your brain is what we need." That was 8 years ago. Today, our company, Access Tech Solutions, is transforming lives for people with disabilities. Carl manages finances, Sophia oversees operations, and I lead development. We're proof that family isn't always blood. "Miss Chen, your 2 o'clock appointment is here." My assistant's voice crackles through the intercom. "Thanks, send them in." I reply, turning my wheelchair toward the door. It opens and my heart stops. Standing there, looking older but unmistakably them, are my parents. "Hello, Deborah," Mom says softly. "You look successful," Dad adds with a strained smile. I grip the armrests of my wheelchair, steadying myself against the surge of anger and grief. 8 years of abandonment meet 2 desperate faces. The game they're playing is written all over them. Let the real story begin. Minutes after they leave, Sophia bursts into my office. "I saw them in the lobby. Please tell me you didn't fall for whatever sob story they fed you." I stare at the business card Mom left behind. "They want to have dinner tonight, to explain everything." "Absolutely not," Carl's voice booms from my speakerphone. "Not without me there." "They said they've regretted their decision every day for 8 years. I murmur, the words tasting bitter. How convenient their regret surfaces right after Access Tech makes Forbes 30 under 30, Sophia says, her fingers flying over her tablet. "Wait a sec. Here we go." She turns the screen toward me. "Your parents' social media accounts." My stomach tightens as I scroll. Photos of yacht parties in Monaco, skiing in the Alps, wine tasting in Tuscany. But one post freezes me in place. "Look at this poor deer trying to wheel through cobblestones," reads the caption under a photo of a person in a wheelchair struggling on a Parisian street. So glad we didn't burden ourselves with that life. The air feels heavy. "There's more," Sophia says quietly. More mocking captions, more celebrations of their freedom, more proof they never changed. "Miss Chen, your parents are insisting on speaking with you again," my assistant says, her voice tinged with concern. Before I can respond, the door bursts open. Mom's perfectly composed face now looks strained, and Dad's designer suit is rumpled. "Deborah, honey, we need to talk." Privately, Mom glances pointedly at Sophia. "Anything you need to say, you can say in front of my family," I reply, emphasizing the word. It makes them flinch. Dad steps forward, his posture stiff. We've hit a rough patch. Some investments went wrong. How much? I ask flatly. 2 million, he admits, his voice barely above a whisper. But it's not just about money. We really do want to make amends. Really? I say, pulling up their social media posts on my computer screen. Is that why you mocked disabled people online? To make amends. Mom's face drains of color, and Dad stumbles over excuses. Get out, I whisper, then louder. Get out. You don't understand. Mom pleads. Those posts. We were hurting. Hurting? Carl's voice booms as he strides into the room, clearly having broken every speed limit to get here. You want to talk about hurting? Try watching your teenage sister learn to live without her legs while her parents walked away. We're still her parents. Dad tries to stand his ground. No, Carl says coldly, stepping between them and me. You're just opportunists who see a cash cow in the daughter you abandoned. Now, get out before I call security. They leave, but not before Mom turns back, her voice brittle. We're not giving up, Deborah. We'll prove we've changed. After they're gone, Sophia holds up her phone. They've been contacting other successful entrepreneurs with disabilities. Same story, estranged parents seeking reconciliation. Always right when their kids hit peak success. They won't stop, will they? I ask, exhaustion seeping into my voice. Carl puts a steadying hand on my shoulder. No, but neither will we. Sophia's eyes gleam with determination. The Disability Tech Conference is next month. They'll definitely try something there. I glance between my brother and best friend, feeling the fire reignite inside me. Then let's be ready. The Disability Tech Conference is the biggest event in our industry. Normally, I'd be excited, but as I watch my parents work the room from my spot near the stage, all I feel is disgust. They're good, I'll give them that. They've convinced half the room they're devoted parents of a disabled entrepreneur, Sophia whispers, pretending to check my presentation slides. I watch Mom dab fake tears while chatting with a potential investor. Did you get everything? I ask. Oh yeah, Sophia pulls out her phone. Every conversation they've had this week, including the one where they called you their meal ticket at the hotel bar last night. Mrs. Chen is quite the actress, my assistant comments, wheeling over. She just told a Bloomberg reporter how she spent years helping you adapt to your wheelchair. Funny, since she wasn't even in the country. Carl approaches, adjusting his tie. I've got something better. Remember Jeremy Wong, the developer who turned them down last month? Turns out they pulled the same routine with 3 other disabled entrepreneurs. Jeremy's got signed statements from all of them. Your parents have been running the sympathy scam for over a year. Mom spots me and waves enthusiastically. Deborah, darling, come meet Mr. Patterson. He's fascinated by your journey. Showtime, I mutter, wheeling over. I was just telling Mr. Patterson how we've supported you every step of the way. Mom gushes. Really? I reply, my voice icy. Tell him about the steps I took in Paris. Her face freezes. You know, when you photographed and mocked a disabled person struggling with cobblestones. Mr. Patterson's eyebrows shoot up. That's not, we were in a bad place then, Dad stammers. Like when you were in Monaco or Tuscany? I retort, pulling out my tablet. Would you like to see their social media posts, Mr. Patterson? They're quite enlightening. This is hardly the place, Mom hisses, her composure cracking. You're right, the stage would be better. I wheel toward the podium. My keynote starts in 2 minutes. Deborah, please, Dad says, grabbing my wheelchair. Bad move. Take your hands off my chair, I say loudly enough for heads to turn. Unlike my legs, my voice works perfectly, and I'm not afraid to use it. Security approaches as Carl steps in. Is there a problem here? No problem, Mom says, her voice suddenly sugary sweet. We're just having a family discussion. Family? I laugh bitterly. Let's talk about family. Let's talk about how you abandoned your paralyzed teenage daughter. How you mocked disabled people online while living it up in Europe. How you only came back when you needed money. A crowd gathers. Phones are recording. You're twisting everything. Dad protests weakly. Sophia steps forward, her phone playing the hotel bar recording. Once we get the money from our crippled cash cow, we can finally retire properly. Gasps ripple through the crowd as Mom's mask shatters completely. My keynote today was supposed to be about overcoming challenges, I say, addressing the stunned audience. I think I'll talk about recognizing toxic people instead, starting with the ones who see their disabled daughter as nothing more than a bank account. You'll regret this, Mom hisses under her breath. I wheel onto the stage ramp, my voice steady and clear. No, Mom. The only thing I regret is ever thinking I wasn't enough. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a speech to give. As security escorts them out, I catch Carl and Sophia's proud smiles. The real show is about to begin. My conference speech goes viral overnight. #ToxicParents and #disability rights trend for days. But the real storm hits when journalists dig deeper. Another family has come forward, Sophia announces, dropping a tablet in my lap. Their disabled son was approached by our parents 3 months ago. Same story, same sympathy play, same attempt to get investment money. How many does that make now? I ask, scrolling through the article. 7 confirmed cases, Carl says, looking up from his laptop, plus dozens of suspicious connections. Their reputation is completely destroyed. My phone buzzes. Mom again. Her desperate voicemails have grown increasingly hostile over the past week. I press play on the latest one. You've ruined us. Her voice crackles through the speaker. We're your parents, we gave you life. And I gave you consequences, I murmur, blocking their number for the final time. Speaking of consequences, Sophia grins, pulling up a news site. Your parents' business partners want nothing to do with them. That investment firm your dad worked with, they've cut all ties. Their social circles have abandoned them too, Carl adds. Turns out rich people don't like being associated with publicly exposed toxic parents. Who knew? A notification pops up on my screen. A message from Jeremy Wong. They're selling their house, I say, reading aloud. Moving to some small town in Idaho. Guess Monaco's off the table now. Good, I say, feeling lighter than I have in years. Let them live with their choices, just like I had to live with mine. Miss Chen, my assistant, pokes her head in. The Disability Foundation is on line 1. They want to partner with Access Tech for a nationwide accessibility initiative. I catch my reflection in the office window, sitting straight in my wheelchair, surrounded by real family. Put them through. And that's not all, Sophia says, practically bouncing with excitement. Remember that investor your mom was crying to at the conference? Mr. Patterson. I raise an eyebrow. He wants to fund our new education program for disabled youth. Really? $10 million worth of really, Carl says, sliding over the proposal. He said, and I quote, "True family stands by you. Let's help kids who need that support." My eyes water as I read the details. A tech education center designed specifically for disabled youth. Scholarships, mentorship programs. Everything we dreamed of creating. You know what this means, I say, looking at my real family. We can help make sure no other disabled person feels as alone as I did. About that, Sophia says, pulling up a calendar. We've received hundreds of messages from disabled individuals sharing similar stories of family abandonment. They're asking for support groups, resources. Then let's give it to them, I decide. The center can have a community space too. No one should face this alone. Carl squeezes my shoulder. Mom and Dad thought they were ruining you by leaving. Instead, they made you stronger. No, I correct him, holding out my hands to my brother and best friend. You two made me stronger. They just made me angry. And now, I take a deep breath, the fire in my chest steady and bright. Now we're going to use that anger to help others rise. Sophia wipes her eyes, trying to look professional and failing. So, boss lady, ready to change more lives? Let's get to work, I say, pushing through the doors to our future. We've got people to help and lives to change. Some say success is the best revenge. I say using that success to help others is even better. Hi, I'm Teresa. Looking back on that spring afternoon during my sophomore year of college, I wish I'd seen the warning signs. I was 19, focused on my psychology major, and living at home to save money. Life was pretty normal, until my parents dropped a bombshell over Sunday dinner. Teresa, sweetie, we need to discuss something important, Mom began, her voice unnervingly sweet, the kind of tone she uses when she's about to say something I won't like. Marcus and Diana's daughter Katie is going through some family troubles, she said. She needs a place to stay for a while. I nodded, assuming they meant the guest room. Sure, that's fine. Dad cleared his throat. Well, Katie needs a proper bedroom. She's still in high school, and we think she'd be more comfortable in your room. My fork clattered against my plate. What? Where am I supposed to sleep? The garage is insulated, Mom said brightly. We can set up a nice space for you there. You're in college now, Teresa. You need to learn to be more accommodating. That night, I called my best friend Ashley and my cousin Emma on a three-way call. They're making me move to the garage for some kid I've never even met. That's messed up, Ashley said. Your parents are seriously choosing their friend's kid over you. Emma chimed in. I get that Katie's parents are their friends, but still the garage? That's just wrong. The next day, Katie arrived. She looked like the Disney Channel version of a troubled teen, perfectly styled hair, expensive clothes, and a practiced sad smile. My parents hovered around her like she was made of glass. Teresa, help Katie settle in, Mom ordered as I watched them haul my things to the garage. Your room is so cute, Katie gushed, running her fingers over my corkboard of photos. Oh, but these pictures are kind of childish. Mind if I take them down? Before I could respond, she was already pulling at my memories, accidentally tearing my favorite photo of Ashley and Emma. Oops. Sorry. She didn't sound sorry. Good thing you're moving to the garage, she added with a smirk. Now I can make this room more mature. That night, lying on a makeshift bed between boxes of Christmas decorations and Dad's old golf clubs, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Ashley. Something's not right about Katie. She's giving me bad vibes. Seconds later, Emma replied. Did some digging. Katie's family troubles might not be what they seem. Want me to investigate? I stared at my phone, remembering Katie's smirk as she tore my photo. Yes, I typed back. Find everything you can. 2 weeks into my exile, I caught Katie in the kitchen talking to Mom. I'm just so worried about Teresa, she said softly, her voice trembling with fake concern. She seems so angry lately. Yesterday, she practically slammed the door when I tried to talk to her. I hadn't slammed any doors. I've been avoiding her entirely. Mom nodded sympathetically. It's just really hard, Katie continued, dabbing at non-existent tears. I thought we could be like sisters, but she keeps giving me these hostile looks. Maybe this was a mistake. I could try finding somewhere else. No, sweetie, Mom rushed to assure her. Teresa just needs to adjust her attitude. I'll talk to her. That talk turned into a lecture about being more welcoming and less selfish. When I tried to explain Katie's behavior, Mom shut me down. She's been through so much with her family situation. But Emma's investigation told a different story. Teresa, Katie's lying, Emma told me during a secret coffee shop meeting. I talked to my friend who went to her old school. There's no family trouble, her parents are fine. She's pulled similar stunts at 2 other friends' houses. Ashley, who had been furiously documenting everything in her notebook, leaned forward. It's a pattern. Every time you're out, Katie had been slowly destroying my life under the guise of accidents. First, my laptop mysteriously fell off my desk. Then, my textbooks were ruined when a conveniently leaky water bottle drenched them. My remaining photos? They disappeared because the wind supposedly blew them away. The garage itself had become a nightmare. Random puddles appeared near my bed, and the heating malfunctioned on the coldest nights. We need more evidence, Emma said, showing us texts from Katie's old school friend. Look at this. Katie's done this before, manipulating parents into taking her in, pushing out their kids, and moving on when the truth starts to catch up with her. Ashley leaned forward, phone in hand. Watch this. She pressed play on a video she'd recorded in the garage. It showed Katie deliberately pouring water near my bed, then running to my parents to claim there was a leak that might damage their precious storage boxes. Dad's response, moving my bed to an even colder corner of the garage. I'm done being the bad guy in her story, I said, glaring through the kitchen window where Katie played the perfect houseguest, helping Mom with dinner. That evening, Katie came to the garage with her signature fake concern. Teresa, your mom wants you to join us for dinner. She's worried you're isolating yourself out here. She glanced at Ashley and Emma, her smile tightening. Oh, were you having a private meeting? I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. Her tone was sweet, but her eyes carried a warning. She knew we were on to her. Emma's detective work was paying off. We uncovered the truth about Katie's past through old friends and families who had hosted her before. Here's the Thompson family, Emma said, pointing to her laptop. Katie stayed with them, claiming her parents were divorcing. Then the Wilsons, she said their house had black mold. And the Camerons? She claimed her parents were temporarily relocating for work. But her parents never moved or divorced, I added, my anger simmering. Ashley played more recordings she'd secretly made. In one, Katie told my mom her family was dealing with financial troubles. In another, she mentioned a terminal illness. Each story contradicted the last. We have enough proof, Ashley said firmly. It's time to show your parents. The confrontation went as disastrously as I expected. I laid out everything, the families, the inconsistencies, the deliberate sabotage of my things. Mom and Dad sat in silence until Mom finally spoke. I can't believe you're so jealous that you'd make up these lies, she said, shaking her head. Katie warned us you might do this. Of course she did. I exploded. She's manipulating you. Dad stood up angry. That's enough, Teresa. Katie's going through a difficult time, and instead of helping, you're inventing conspiracy theories. Right on cue, Katie appeared, tears already streaming down her face. I heard everything, she whispered. I knew Teresa hated me, but I never thought she'd make up such horrible stories about my family. The next day, my psychology project, a presentation worth 40% of my grade, was corrupted on my laptop. Katie had been alone in the garage earlier, supposedly looking for cleaning supplies. Looks like your computer caught a virus, she said, her fake sympathy as sharp as a knife. Maybe keeping it in the garage wasn't such a good idea. All that dust and moisture. That was the last straw. Ashley and Emma helped me set up hidden cameras, one in the garage, two in common areas, and a pin-sized one on my backpack. Emma borrowed audio recorders from her journalism class. Let's catch her red-handed, Ashley said as we placed the final camera. She can't lie her way out of video evidence. Be careful, Emma warned. My research shows she gets nasty when cornered. The Cameron's daughter ended up with a broken arm in a suspicious accident. I looked around at my makeshift bedroom, the water-stained books, the ruined project. Let her try. I'm done being her victim. Katie didn't disappoint. Over the next few days, the cameras caught everything, her sneaking into the garage at night, damaging my things and smirking as she spun sob stories to my parents. One clip even showed her on the phone, boasting about how she manipulated her way into our house. The real bombshell came during the monthly neighborhood dinner at our house. Everyone was there, including Katie's parents, Marcus and Diana. Katie was in rare form, playing the part of the perfect, troubled teen. Ashley nudged me under the table and passed me her phone. Watch this, she whispered. The video showed Katie in my room, pacing while on a call. Can you believe these idiots? She said, laughing. They actually put their daughter in the garage, just like the Thompsons and the others. Parents are so stupid. They'll believe anything if you cry enough. I give it another month before I found my next words. I stood up, my hands trembling. Everyone needs to see something, I announced. Despite my parents' protests, I plugged Ashley's phone into the TV and hit play. The room fell deathly silent as Katie's true face emerged on screen. Hours of footage rolled, her sabotaging my belongings, lying to my parents, and bragging in phone calls about her manipulations. Katie's mother, Diana, turned ghostly pale. Katie, what is this? It's obviously fake, Katie stammered, her voice rising in panic. But Emma wasn't done. She pressed play on the audio recordings, Katie spinning different stories about her troubled family to various people. Each lie contradicted the last. We contacted the other families, I said firmly, the Thompsons, the Wilsons, and the Camerons. They confirmed everything. The aftermath was explosive. Katie's mask shattered, and she started screaming, her carefully crafted facade disintegrating before everyone's eyes. Her parents looked horrified, especially as the depth of her manipulations became clear. She needs professional help, Marcus, her father, said, his voice unsteady. This ends now. Within days, Katie was enrolled in a therapeutic boarding school. The community's reaction was swift and damning. Neighbors who had once looked at me with disapproval now couldn't apologize enough. As for my parents, they tried too. Teresa, we're so sorry, Mom sobbed one evening. We should have believed you. I stared at her, calm but resolute. You chose a stranger over your own daughter. You put me in the garage. You called me a liar and jealous. Some things can't be fixed with an apology. Emma had already offered me her spare room. Stay with me while you finish college, she insisted. No garages, no manipulation, no drama. I moved out the next day. My parents kept calling, sending messages, even showing up at Emma's place with my old room key. "We've kept your room exactly as it was," Dad pleaded. "Please, Teresa, we'll do anything to make it right." "You already did everything," I replied coldly. "You showed me exactly who you are and where I stand with you. I'm not interested in a relationship with people who could treat their daughter that way." Looking back, exposing Katie was almost worth the pain, almost. She lost her perfect reputation, her victims were validated, and her parents finally saw her for who she was. My parents, however, lost something far more valuable: their daughter's trust and respect. As for me, I'm thriving. Living with Emma, my grades have recovered, and I'm excelling in my psychology major, with a focus on manipulative behavior. The garage may have been cold, but it taught me the warmth of standing up for myself and choosing my own family. My story went viral on social media, and I've connected with others who faced similar betrayals. Together, we're building a support network to help people recognize and protect themselves from manipulators like Katie. My parents still reach out every few months. Last week, I received an email from them. "The house feels so empty without you," it read. I marked it as read, then closed the tab. Some say forgiveness is the key to moving forward, but I disagree. Sometimes moving forward means leaving toxic people behind, even if they're family. The strongest move isn't always about getting even.